All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. Today, we're going to go over backpacking for beginners. I'm going to go through my gear list, my recommendations for somebody that's just wanting to get into backpacking, or if you've been backpacking for a time, this is going to help you overhaul. I have about 20 years experience of backpacking and camping, so I've kind of perfected my gear. I'm always tweaking it, trying to get it just right and changing from season to season. But hey, spring is going to be here soon, and I got some big backpacking trips planned this spring and summer. So I'm going to go through my gear list. I have a list here of topics we're going to talk about. I'm going to tie in some pictures of the different gear because I'm not going to dig everything out. There's just too much crap and it get too messy. It's easier for me to just show you pictures on this. But we're going to talk about what I use, my recommendations, and why I use, kind of the philosophy of use. So if you like longer form gear topic videos, this video is going to be for you. So get a cup of coffee or whatever you want to drink and sit back, and we're going to talk our way through this. All right, first on the list. Yeah, I know, getting some reading glasses. I have a migraine right now, and I'm getting old, so get over it. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about my backpack. All right, the backpack that I use is well, I kind of go back and forth. Over the years, I've gone through multiple packs. Usually, Kelty is in there in the mix. Right now, I use a Hill People Gear Kuya, which is it's a larger size pack. It has some ups and downs. One thing I like about it, it's super comfortable. It's probably the best load-bearing backpack that I've ever used and ever owned. I use that with Hill People Gear chest rig. I use the SAR chest rig. That's kind of what I carry. It has plenty of attachment points and straps for carrying stuff outside. Big cavernous pockets on the inside, super great bag, very durable, not the lightest. I will tell you, if you're wanting to get into backpacking and do ultralight and you're on a budget, I'd steer you towards maybe some Kelty. Osprey is pretty light, not the most durable packs, but personally I use a Kuya, and that's what I'm going to be using for this season. The main thing when you're looking for a pack, you want something that is going to carry really well on the hips. You want more of the weight on your hips because that's just better for load bearing, center of gravity, so many reasons. So you want something that carries good on your hips. You want some relief on your shoulder. Now, if you're going for very long hiking trips and long backpacking trips and you're going to be covering a lot of miles, you're going to want probably a lighter pack than this, I would say. But I will tell you one thing. One important thing is get a pack that you can shift. What I mean is shift is you're going to want to have throughout the day, you're going to want to have more weight on your hips, more weight on your shoulders, so when one gets fatigued, you can go back and forth. It just makes it a more pleasurable experience, and you want something that's got a good warranty, has a good coverage. I really like Hill People Gear because, A, it's made in America. The other point, they have a really good warranty, and the stuff's very durable. They have good buckles, they have good zippers, and it's very modular, so you can add on to it. Mine, I have some side pockets. I have a water bottle pocket put on my my hip, and I use the chest rig. So this kind of goes into, we'll talk about defense, but I carry a Glock 20 10mm handgun in my chest rig. It keeps it concealed so it doesn't freak too many people out depending on where you're going hiking, but it keeps it accessible for problems that come along the trail and just if I need a quick draw for self-defense. So it's a big system that really goes together. Okay, the next we're going to talk about tents. There's different ways to go about this. You can go between tents and hammocks. I will say that personally, I fluctuate through the time of the year on what I use, whether it be a tent or a hammock. I prefer a hammock. I'm a side sleeper by nature, so a hammock is more comfortable for me to sleep on my side. But, you know, if it's really cold out, the cheaper route if it's cold out is to go with a tent. In the spring and summer, I very seldomly carry a tent. I'll just bring a Inu. I use the double nest, which is the bigger hammock. You know, I'm over 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I'm a big dude, pretty solidly built. So I need just more room. I need more suspension, and it takes more to make me comfortable when I sleep. So I have a tendency to use the hammock in the summer. I'll just carry the Inu. And then I also will just pair that up with usually the Housefly, which is a partial tent covering suspension on my hammock. And that's the system I use. In the winter, it is more warm to use a tent because if you're going in for a system and you're going to want something to where you can be more warm in colder temperatures, keeping your body low, getting rid of any kind of dead airspace, the tent's going to be easier for you with a good winter pad and good winter sleeping bag. If you're going to sleep in a hammock in the winter, you're going to need a underquilt. You're going to need some lining to create a little dead airspace cocoon. I use a Snug Pack hammock cocoon in the winter. It's basically just turns it into a big banana peel essentially that I'm sleeping in that zips up, and then I have a sleeping bag. And honestly, as long as it's not raining or something, you could not even use a covering and you'd be perfectly warm between the cocoon and the sleeping bag. But, just for the sake of argument, probably the simplest for the winter is going to be a tent, and the cheapest and the lightest. Sleeping in a hammock in the summer is going to be your lightest way to go backpacking. Hands down, hammock's the lightest in the summer. In the winter, the lightest is going to be the tent, just because what we said before, there's that much more stuff. And that kind of brings us into sleeping bags and pads. So in the winter, I have two different sleeping bags. Where I go backpacking the majority of the time is in states like Montana, Idaho, Utah. That's pretty much the main places that when I go backpacking, it's going to be up in higher elevation, higher climates. Even in the summer, it's going to get down to the 20s and 30s. If a storm comes in the summer, it can reach that. Usually the places I go backpacking around June, July, August, it still gets down into the low 40s at night. So I use a Kelty Cosmic Down 20-degree sleeping bag in the summer. That gives me a good enough buffer that if some bad weather comes in between the clothes that I have, I can stay pretty warm with that. That's what I use for that. In the winter, I use a Snug Pack Winter Special Forces Bivy sleeping bag. It's a little bit bigger, but it's like a negative, I think, 15-degree bag. It is heavier, it is bigger, but in the winter when I go, if I'm going places up in the mountains, it's going to get down in the single digits. If I get stuck in a snowstorm, it can drop even below that with the wind. I'm not really concerned about the wind because I either have a tent or shelter system, or if something happens and I need to ditch that, it takes me maybe 30 minutes to build emergency shelter out of, just stuff that nature provides. So it's not that big of a deal to make a shelter. But, those are the two things I switch back and forth. I wouldn't go any lower than a 20-degree bag. A 20-degree bag is going to keep you comfortable down to about 30. So it's not an exact science. If you sleep hot, if you sleep cold, it's going to change. Now, you can supplement that with different layers and linings and sleeping bag liners, and I have some of that. If I'm in between, like in the fall, and I don't need the Special Forces bag, I will take the Kelty 20-degree bag, but I'll bring like a sleeping bag fleece liner or something like that to kind of give me a little extra layer of insulation in there. Pads, I go back and forth. I prefer an air pad, a blow-up air pad that's made for backpacking. A Kymit is kind of my favorite. I use that in a pillow system. There's other, Thermarest makes a few, and they get really expensive. So, I kind of try to find the middle of the road. And when you're buying backpacking gear, I would say try to stick with the middle of the road backpacking gear. Don't buy the cheapest, don't buy the expensive. Just kind of hit something in the middle that's good quality. Pillows, that's a touchy subject for me. Pillows has always been a problem because, given being a side sleeper, I need a little bit extra support. I've never found a good backpacking pillow that's not air and a blow up. I use a blow up air pillow. The solid pillows, I need like 2 or 3 of those to actually be comfortable sleeping. So I stick with a blow up air pillow. I've never found a phenomenal, big, thick, plush, comfortable backpacking pillow. If any of you guys know of any that I haven't tried yet or I don't know about, comment below and let me know. I'm always trying to find one, but for now, until I find something better, air pillow. All right, water filters. So this has been an evolving thing. I first started out with a General Ecology filter, which is pretty hands down expensive. They used those back in the early 2000s, I think, when they first came out. That was a big thing for scientists and stuff that go like South America and Africa, places that have a lot of problems and diseases and parasites in the water due to like sewage runoff and stuff like that. I used that for the longest. Worked pretty good. That's what I used for many, many years until the Grayall water filters came out, and then now I pretty much just go with the Grayall. Now they have the large and the small Grayall water filter, and I will say the large one's more handy for just larger volumes, but I would go with the smaller Grayall water filter. It filters out viruses, bacteria, protozoas, all the nasty stuff you don't want. Make sure, like, you can get some cheaper water filters, but they don't filter out viruses. So that's another issue. And then there's the growing issue of prions, which if you don't know about prions, type Joe Rogan prion. He has a scientist on there that deals with a lot of chronic wasting disease with stuff, and it's kind of the prion situation is getting a little nasty. Read up on that. All right, next up. So next we're going to talk about lighting. So I carry 2 lights, usually backpacking when I'm trying to keep the weight down on this. That's the Bengay ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain. I always carry a headlamp is a must. You have to have a headlamp if you're going to go backpacking. I carry an Olight headlamp that is magnetic and has a bunch of different features. It's rechargeable, it runs off my battery bank. So make sure you bring a battery bank to recharge your stuff. I also carry a handheld Streamlight Polytac flashlight. So make sure you have a headlamp and a handheld flashlight, bare minimum. Always have redundancy. If you want, there are some lightweight options for lanterns and stuff like that, but bare minimum for the sake of money and just weight. Small, light, very long-lasting headlamp is a must, and a small handheld flashlight. Okay, next up we have knives. So there's different types of knives. We're not going to get into that. We're bushcraft, survival, tactical, yada yada. Make sure you carry a good knife. Some people get by with a pocket knife. If you're going to carry a pocket knife and you want to keep the weight down and not carry a big fixed blade or something like that, as far as a pocket knife, I would say go for something like a Spyderco, or get like a liner lock, something like a buck folding knife, something like that. That's a really durable fixed blade that you can make kindling and has some usage for folding. I would suggest take a fixed blade. At a bare minimum, get a neck knife. I would steer you away for backpacking from having big hip knives, just because it gets in the way of your belt for your backpack. You definitely want to go with like a neck knife or a folding knife. It's just easier, lighter weight, and easier to access. Personally, I carry a neck knife. Right now, I'm looking at getting some different ones and a custom made one, but right now I carry a LT Wright pronghorn, and I use that as a neck knife. Next up is food. This is a big deal. Make sure you carry your food. Test your food out before you go. There's nothing worse than going out in the mountains and having just nasty food that you don't want to eat. So test that out. Make sure it's good. Make sure it's healthy. Try to stay away from stuff with a lot of sodium. It can make you retain water. It can make you sick. If you're susceptible to high blood pressure, sodium, if you eat these freeze-dried foods for 3 or 4 days, I've gone on week-long backpacking trips. You don't want to eat stuff that's just packed full of sodium. It can shoot your blood pressure up and cause problems. Make sure you have some snacks and stuff like that. Personally, I only carry freeze-dried foods for breakfast and dinners. I like to carry like a scrambled egg type mix, freeze-dried food for breakfast, and then dinners I carry stuff. I prefer Mountain House. That's kind of my go-to. And then for lunch and stuff, I usually just have like some fruit or granola bars or something like that. Some raw vegetables and stuff. I'll kind of nibble on like a rabbit for lunch. And that leads us into cooking. Make sure you get a good cook set. I go with titanium. Toaks is a really good budget titanium. Stay away from stainless steel. It's super heavy and clunky. Titanium's so much lighter. Your back will thank you. Aluminum, stay away from that. Aluminum's just nasty when you heat it up, and it's not good to eat out of. Aluminum can cause Alzheimer's and cancers, renal deficiencies, and stuff like that. So just stay away from aluminum cookware. Make sure you got a good med kit. I build my own. I used to be a medic, so I'm pretty familiar with like kits and stuff. I would say try to get as light of kit as you can. Most of the time you're going to need boo-boos and Band-Aids and stuff like that. Do have a separate little kit of trauma bandages, like Israeli bandages or QuikClot or something like that. I carry a main boo-boo kit, which is super light, and then I also carry a trauma kit for for like a bear attack or an animal attack where I have massive trauma and lacerations. I do have a suture set where I can sew somebody back up if I need to. I keep stuff. So keep your boo-boo kit, and then I keep a trauma kit for animal attacks and stuff. Actually, you never know when somebody might accidentally get shot. So I keep a gunshot trauma kit in my backpacking kit when I go, so I can whatever. Honestly, carry a little extra. Make sure you have gloves because you never know if you may need to touch somebody. You may come across somebody injured and you may need to want to help them out. Don't get their blood and their funk on you. They could have a disease or something. So there's that. And that leads us into our second thing, or the next list on there is self-defense. Like I said before, I carry a Glock 20, 10 millimeter for backpacking. It's super light, biggest bang for a buck. I carry Buffalo Bore loads for bears. That gets me up in the 44 Magnum range. If you don't feel comfortable with firearms, at least carry a bear spray and a walking stick or something. You can at least attempt to poke. But if you're in bear country, carry a firearm. Navigation. I go back and forth on this. I have a Garmin handheld GPS. I hardly ever carry that. Usually I just use a map and compass. I have All Trails on my phone that runs off a satellite, so I'll use that or the map. For emergencies, I carry a sat phone that I pay for a monthly subscription. So I have a satellite phone, so I don't have to mess with texting or sending messages to my phone. If I want to talk to somebody, I just pick up my sat phone, get a good system locked in on that, and then I can call. It also has an emergency beacon on there to where I can, even if I can't make a phone call, I can just hit a button on it and it sends out emergency SOS. Satellite beacon. Clothing is going to be a big deal. You're going to make sure that you want to have layers. Layering is key. Layer for the time of the year. Always bring a little bit of extra than you need. I never bring extra pants. The main thing I bring is spare wool socks, maybe a spare t-shirt, and spare underwear. That's the maximum you need. You should have like Fjallraven or something heavy duty pants and stuff that you can change through. Dress according to the season. Try to go for something light. I know that the best option for a coat, even in the summer, make sure you have some kind of coat. Basically, my layering, unless it's like deep winter, first layer is going to be Fjallraven pants. Depends on how cold it is, I may bring like some merino wool base layers, but I have my wool socks. Fjallraven pants, I usually wear some kind of synthetic moisture wicking t-shirt on underneath that, and then I'll have like a fleece pullover or something like that, and then I'll have a backpacking down jacket like a North Face or Patagonia or something like that, and then I have a Columbia rain jacket, so I can make my down coat waterproof. Down, if it gets wet, loses all of its insulation factor, so you gotta be careful with that. But then again, we're trying to minimize our weight impact on our back, so that's pretty much the layering I carry. In the summer, I carry just some work mechanics gloves, just for like fire tending and stuff like that. So I have gloves that they offer a little bit of warmth, but you have to dress according to the season. In the winter, I carry more Arctic stuff. I have expedition grade Arctic clothing that I wear in the winter. Like I've have some other videos where I go up and I'm, camping at 10,000 feet in, negative degree weather. So, that you dress accordingly. Next thing is tools, bare minimum. Usually, I know it's a little heavy. I carry a Silky big boy saw backpacking or Silky pocket boy. I'll go back and forth on that. And then I'll carry, obviously, my knife as a tool for making fire. Sometimes I'll carry a really small Leatherman just to have the option for tools and stuff if I need to fix something, or scissors or whatever. That's pretty much the only tools I need. Then there's the debate. Boots versus shoes. Summertime, if I know I'm not going to run into any kind of rain, I'll use hiking tennis shoes just because they're more lightweight and quicker and just more comfortable. They don't offer as much ankle support, so if you have weak ankles, you might want to lean towards boots. But I have both. I just kind of depends on what I'm doing, where I'm going. In the desert, I have a tendency of using non-waterproof breathable Merrell hiking shoes just because I'm not worried about moisture. I just want the heat to get away from my feet, and it's lighter. If I'm going up in the mountains in the summer, it's a little bit colder. I use some between Salomon's and Merrell hiking boots. I kind of go back and forth on that. And just you probably need something to get weather updates. I have a sat phone, so I can call different numbers and get information on the weather. If you don't have that, you can get some places, depend on where you're at, you can get a weather radio to take with you and get updates if you have signal. A lot of places, weather radios don't do any good. Consider that, and with that, if you're going in a big group of people, I've gone on backpacking trips from with 9, 10 people. It is kind of nice if you want an option to bring some handheld walkie-talkies or something like that if you're in a big group, especially if you get separated, if you have kids with you. So that's another thing to option. But yeah, just a few things for a list of what I carry. This is not all encompassing. There's some other stuff in there that I carry between water bottles and stuff like that. I'll give you an example. Sometimes I go back between carrying this, or I'll carry just smart water, water bottles, bladders, stuff like that. So yeah, hope you like this. If you like this video and you want to see more content like it, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to see a follow-up deep dive in this, comment, let me know, and we'll break it out and we'll go into a little bit more in depth on it. This is just kind of an idea to help you get going on what to look for. So get out there, enjoy the mountains. Remember, leave it better than you found it. Take care of the mountains, enjoy it for generations to come, and we'll see you on the next video.